Welcome to Ambitious Tech Mamas, a podcast for moms who are making big moves at work and at home. Here we keep it real about careers, relationships, and the beautiful messy balance of motherhood.
This is your space to be authentic, to feel seen, and to remind yourself that grace is just as important as ambition. You are not alone. Let's navigate this journey together.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Again, we are excited for episode 2 today. And so before we get with it, we thought that we would start with a new segment, which is a glow and a grow. So for folks that are not familiar with that, basically it's like a high and a low, but kind of cuter way of saying it. I know different elementary schools and stuff use it, so we're going to go with it. So with that, I thought that I would start with my glow, if that works.
Yeah.
I will say mine actually, which was kind of just a quick email that I received this past week. I will say just on the backstory there, I had a gal reach out to me. I did not work with her very much, but she asked if she would be cool if I just chatted with her. And it was only 20 minutes. And she sent me a note that said those 20 minutes alone were the best career advice pieces that she had ever gotten in her entire career. And so as small as that seems, I'm going to call that a glow.
That's a glow.
Because I felt good about that. And
Yes.
you just need those moments.
You
so
do.
I'm going to do that on the career side for my glow this week.
I love it. And I've been a recipient of that great career advice from you. So I'm sure it was amazing. So for me, I am in the midst of this program right now of weight loss. And I have a personalized trainer, a dietitian, and I haven't been following the plans. You know, I'll like sneak and have a Butterfinger or something. And so the past 2 weeks I've been consistent and I'm down 2.5 pounds.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So I'm proud of myself for one, doing something for myself and then beginning to stick with it. So I'm celebrating my 2.5 pounds with another Butterfinger.
I say celebrate. Take 2 Butterfingers. It's fine. We won't tell anybody.
There we go. So yeah.
All right. What about your grow?
My growth. So this parenthood journey, right? So this week, my daughter had a homework assignment.
Okay.
And she brought it to be checked, and it was just, you could tell she was rushing. Half of it was in pen, the other half was in pencil. And so I was like, yeah, do this all over again. And so she was like, nope, don't want to do this again, mommy. And I'm like, you have to. It's a representation of you, so on and so forth. So I can tell she was bothered, right? And I felt it was hard, you know, because anytime our kids are sad or bothered or whatever, you know, you take that in. And so for me, it was a struggle. Like I felt bad, but I knew that was the right thing to do. And as she's getting older, especially now she's 10, you know, I'm raising this self-assured, confident person. And so I welcome her to speak her feelings and her minds, of course, respectfully. And, you know, she expressed how she felt. And, you know, so we had that dialogue. But at the end of the day, the homework was going to get done over. And so,
I like it.
Like I said, I felt bad. You know, like, okay, she feels bad. And, you know, she made her points valid, understandable. But what's right is right. And so what was, I guess, so that was a growing moment just as a mom. But the highlight for me was the next morning. I took her to school. We live 2 stops from Mars. So we had a nice long drive.
There you go.
And so anytime, you know, we always circle back. Whether, you know, especially when there are things that someone didn't like, we always, as a family, you know, we always circle back. And so we circled back on our ride to school. I was sharing with her why I needed you to do the homework over, the importance of us having open communication. So you being able to share what you felt, why you felt that, and how we move forward, right? In a way that we both are comfortable, so that she knows that her feelings are respected and that mommy's telling me this for a greater purpose. And so it was a grow / glow / a lot of stuff. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, when she got out that car to go to school and I kissed her and said, I love you, make smart decisions. So I say that every day. You know, she felt better and that made me feel better. So
I love that,
Yeah.
especially because you are raising a strong female, but mom has still got to tell her 2 cents. So I love that piece. All right, so yours was all warm and fuzzy, grow. I'm going to tell you about mine.
Let's go.
Oh, and it is recent, meaning fresh in my mind. So one weekend morning, I will say, I do what probably most moms do, which is, okay, I just give me 20 minutes. I'm going to try and clean. Yeah. I'm going to either fold the laundry, I'm going to do dishes, I'm going to do something. So yesterday, so very fresh, like I said, I'm vacuuming and I see there's like some stuff dripping from Keely's walker, which, let's be clear, Sean is the one. This is important, so we'll circle back to this. Sean's the one that puts her in her walker every morning. Okay. So what's going on? So I go look over there, and there's just like dried food. So I go, okay, dry food, got it. And so I start wiping it with disinfectant wipes, and I go, it smells. What is that smell that's going on here? So I take off, there's like a little plastic toy part on it, and there is a puddle of old puke sitting there in the toy walker. And in my mind, I'm like, first of all, how old is this?
Right.
Baby has not been sick for like 2 weeks. Right. She was sick 2 weeks ago when we had to keep her home from daycare. So I'm like, am I smelling 2-week-old puke right now, cleaning it up? And I ask husband, I go, all right, what's going on here? I noticed. So my grow is never underestimate where you might find some baby puke. Who knows how old it is? Somewhere in some toy sometime. She's fine, so don't be alarmed about my baby. But, I came across some old puke, and we have no idea how long it was there.
Wow. Yeah. As long as she's good.
She's good now. Yeah.
You know, the husband wasn't worried, so
no.
Maybe we shouldn't worry either. So.
No, it's fine. But yeah, that was my girl.
You got it.
I know.
So, as we said, you never know. You never know. So again, we're here with episode 2, and these initial episodes is for you to get to know us better, know who we are, our personalities, what we're like. And so for this episode, we are going to go a little bit deeper into our career journeys and then our baby journeys. How did we get to this title of mother, and tech mothers at that? So, I'm going to throw it to you first.
All right. Sounds good. So we've got a set of questions, again, just to get to know us a little bit. So we'll start with one question, which is just kind of, how did we each get into tech? You want to start, Naija?
Sure. So for me, like I mentioned first episode, my background is law, right? And I love the law, even still, right? But I was at my legal job on the East Coast. Actually, this twice. So I first applied to a job at Amazon, and then I didn't get it. So super despondent, like, okay, forget Amazon, they're missing out, right? Then fast forward a few months later, I'm at the legal job on the East Coast, and Amazon calls and says, we have a position that we think you'll be a great fit for. And I was like, really? Because, we just spoke a few months ago. They're like, no, we know this, we know. And so they flew me out here.
Okay.
And I love the team. The hiring manager, his name was Praju, the most sweetest, amazing, most supportive person. And he had said, there's something about you. I think you can do this job, right? It's going to be a stretch for you because it's a little bit more of a senior job, but I feel confident that you can do this job. And again, like I said, I took a leap of faith. I just had my daughter a few months prior.
Wow.
And so we said, we're just going to do it. And I came in, and like I said, the team has been supportive. To this day, if they see me, they call me Sarf for my last name. So they don't even call me Naija. But, it felt like a family. And I think that was my introduction into tech. And I thought that's how it always was. Everyone is just happy and great. And then, I got deep into tech. But
that's okay.
That was my intro into tech. And I always say I am thankful for Praju for taking a chance on this girl from Harlem who was like, I am not trying to move to Seattle at all. And
look at you now, living in Pacific Northwest, animals, snails, weather, all that stuff.
No, it was a slug. I had a slug just pop up randomly recently that's still messing with me. But yeah.
At some point, we're going to have to talk about Naija and her animals and what that means in texts that we get randomly on those. But, we'll get there. But
What about you?
Yes, I will say no slugs involved in mine. But mine, a little bit different. I'm going to go a little bit way back because I have been in tech my entire adult life. And so for me, it was actually in college where I knew I wanted to do business. I didn't know what that meant. I'm a local gal, so I went to UW here in Seattle. And I remember everybody was panicking about internships. And I should have been panicked, honestly. I don't know why I was not. But I remember somebody came up to me and he said, "Hey, you got an internship yet?" And I think I was a sophomore. And so I was a little more of a baby. And I said, "Nope." He said, "Hey, do you want to do this thing called Inroads?" And what I love about Inroads, for folks that don't know, is it is an organization, nonprofit, that helps minority students get connected with big businesses. And so I said, "Yeah, cool. When are the interviews?" He said, "Tomorrow." All right, let's do it. Sure, perfect. Let's sounds good. And he's like, "They've got one spot left, so you either take a Barbietto now or you don't." Oh. And so I said yes, and that's one of the things that I, to this day, have no idea what my life would look like if I did not say yes. In that moment, I didn't have to think I didn't have time to think about it. I didn't have time to prepare. And I went and I did multiple interviews, and some lady was like, "Hey, you remind me of me when I was your age. You want the internship?" And from there, I have been at multiple companies, but that started my tech journey, is just being okay with not thinking it over, not stressing about it, and just saying yes in that moment, and taking advantage when opportunities come knocking at your door, because that one fell in my lap. It does not always happen that way. No. I'm very well aware, and I am lucky for that. But that one fell in my lap.
No, I love that. And, it's this saying that I was taught from young, it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
So you were prepared.
Sure. I got the internship.
Ready, there we go, right? There was something I was ready. So, no, I love that. So with that, what's some inspiration that you've held on to or that has guided you through your career?
I love that question. And I'm going to be a little bit different in the sense of, I know this is ambitious tech mamas and we're talking about ladies typically, but for me, it was actually two men. One is my father, which I will say to him, he always told me growing up, it's a woman's world. Always. He is the most, I will just say, we don't have to talk politics, but he is the most liberal baby boomer you will ever find. But he always told me it's a woman's world, so make it what you want of it. And so that's one. And then the second, going way back, is in high school. Again, I probably should have been thinking about it way harder than I was in terms of what do I want to do when I grow up. But I remember my marketing advisor, and he looked at me and he goes, "Look, like, you are destined for great things. Like, you are so capable and you don't even realize it." And it was that moment in the sense of somebody believed in me and was like, "You need to do something with this." And I've never looked back, and I've always gone for the big opportunities and always stuck my head above everything else. So I would say that those two men probably are part of it.
I love that. For me, I always go back to my mom. Again, growing up in a single parent household in the city, New York, I saw her just defy the odds and with so much grace, right? Like, she still smiled and she prioritized her time and, but was still an overly present parent. Yeah. And one thing that sticks out most is in 2002. Well, she had went back to school, and in 2002, her, my brother, and I all graduated together. Wow. I think it had to have been maybe all the same week, even, or a week apart or so, like that. But she had graduated with another bachelor's degree in forensic psychology.
Oh, look at her.
I was graduating from high school, and my brother was graduating from junior high school. And awesome. It just was like, she did it, right? Yeah. We would see her come home from work, listen to our stories. There was a real dinner, like a meat, a protein, a vegetable, and a snack. Doing homework, then going back out to class. And so I was just so proud to see what she did. And, for my whole life, personal and professional, she serves as that source of inspiration for me. So
I love that. And I've met your mama. She is a sweet and funny lady. Ooh,
yes. So shout out to mommy. I still call her mommy, even though I am an adult with my own family.
That is okay. That is mommy, okay.
No matter what.
That's cool. All right. Kind of going down the line again, getting to know us a little bit better. What is advice that you have gotten, maybe, that has helped you along the way?
I think it's do something you love. Then it doesn't feel like a job. again from my mother. And then also on top of that, someone said something similar to that, but the part that they added was that the money will follow. Because oftentimes people are going for jobs for the money and not happy, right? I know a lot of unhappy millionaires, right? And then there's some thousandaires who are just excited with life because they're doing something that they love. And I think for me, that's how I usually try to follow along. And of course, we all don't have that privilege to do something we love.
Yeah.
But where you can, do something you love, and the joy, the happiness, the money, it'll follow.
I love that.
So, what about you?
I will say for me on the career role side, it is you can make anything you want of it. I remember I was all mad, I'm sure, at some point where I got a new role. We got reorged, which happens sometimes in tech, especially at big companies. Yes. And I was talking to a mentor, and he looked at me. He goes, look, this is what it says on paper. You will be fine. And I remember looking at him going, all right, sir, why? Why am I going to be fine? Tell me more. And he said, because you're not the type of person that just takes something at face value. You're the type of person that you're going to take it, you're going to learn about it, you're going to see what it is, and you are going to make it what you want of it. And so that stuck with me because I think I was already doing it like he told me, but I don't think it sunk in that, yeah, okay, fine. And so I will do that for anything that's handed to me. I will make it what I think it should be. And so that's helped me, I think, along the way with different roles and careers and just kind of how things have fallen.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
All right. What advice do you give?
Usually I tell people to bring their authentic selves to everything they do.
That's true, yeah.
Right? When you bring yourself, you're bound to shine, to have fun, to just be you. And I love the quote by Marianne Williamson where, you unconsciously give permission. When you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give permission to others to let their light shine. And I think when you're just yourself, there's nothing else that can deter you from really living in your purpose. And so I tell people, like, go in there however way you are, and it's okay for people to be uncomfortable as long as you're comfortable and love the person that you see in the mirror. Go for it. So,
and that's a very Naija thing. I'm meaning, like, when you say authentic, if somebody would have asked me, I'll give you $1 million to guess what Naija's going to say. Because it is you, but that goes to the word itself, meaning that you are authentic and you tell other people to do the same. But that's very Naija.
Even people at the restaurants who mess up my food orders.
We'll do another episode on when Naija has food orders that don't go well, or airline companies that don't do what they're supposed to do. She could write a book on how you handle that. But we won't go. That's a different episode, I think. Different episode. For me, in terms of just advice I always give, and I'll say I don't think this is always my advice. I would say this is my advice since being a working mom. Okay. So I'm being very specific. I have a passion for anybody that is especially a first-time working mom, for whatever reason. Those ladies are always scheduling time with me, asking for advice. And so I've got to take that as hopefully a good thing.
Yes.
But the one thing I always say is give yourself grace. I know, and I'm sure you know and have experienced, that as a working mom, it is hard. Having to do everything, like I said, finding the 20 minutes to go find the child's puke while you're vacuuming on a Saturday, exactly. Keep up with work, keep up with friends. It's so hard. And especially as a first-time mom, I remember you can feel overwhelmed. And so my advice that I always give, especially to first-time moms, but then just working moms in general, is give yourself grace, because you are doing more than most human beings probably could ever imagine. As a working mom, I will always empathize with them. So giving grace, geez, that's the biggest.
So I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Sure. As a working mom now with feeling overwhelmed between kids sports and business ventures and all that.
Touchy subjects on kids sports. There's a lot there, but yeah.
Right, yes. Someone should have gave us a handbook for how to deal with kids sports. But how do you give yourself grace? What does that look like for yourself? Knowing that you haven't mastered it yet. You're always figuring it out. But how do you give yourself grace?
I find moments when I'm okay with not having things be how I want them to be. I think that's one. Like, as an example, I want things to be clean. I want my kids' clothes to be put away a certain way. And I accept the fact that, look, where do I want to invest my mental capacity and my energy? And I'm going to give myself grace in this moment and go, you know what? If you've got a sock over here with your blue pants, fine. We're just going to let it roll.
Yes.
So I think that's part of it. And then I really try hard in gratitude, which I know some people roll their eyes on that. But just when I'm driving into work thinking about, geez, look at all the things that I've got in my life. I know you say the words, I am blessed all the time. But I think gratitude is a big one. Is there something that you do as well?
I think you hit on the first one. I'm slowly, and when I say slowly, snail pace. Slow
Okay,
pace,
that's
slowly.
okay. It's still a pace.
Again, too, I am a very alpha personality.
Yeah.
I have to be in
We
control.
both are.
Yes, I have to be in control.
Yep.
My way is right.
Yeah.
And so I also have a daughter who also feels, very strongly.
Yeah.
My husband is like, no, I think this is cool, and so I'm learning to be okay with the laundry not being folded as soon as it come out, or like, you know what, the dishes can wait until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Because at some point we're all gonna be like, enough is enough. Like that was yesterday. We cleaned that house up and down, right?
Yeah.
And it felt so peaceful. But the night before we were able to watch The Amazing Race with a dirty house. Well, not like dirty, but like, dishes and laundry.
I got you. Yeah.
But and that's those moments are priceless. Is what money can't buy.
Yeah.
That I'm learning to prioritize. The house. I remember seeing something on like Instagram one time. It was like a dirty house means that there's love, or like people are living in it, and that's it. We live, right. And so I think that was it too for me. And then it's just like, it's having community. So being able to call another mom is like, or someone will text me like, listen, this 10-year-old phase is rough, right? And I'm like, oh, you too. So I think it's having a community.
Yes, knowing you're not alone is so important.
Yes, because your mom will make you think it's just you, and it really isn't. So
I love that.
Keep giving ourselves grace.
Yeah, no, that's important.
As long as the kids are breathing, that's all I say.
I know. Yeah. Like I said, Puke was 2 weeks old, so she's good now. So
that's it. So.
Oh, goodness.
What's a mistake you've made?
Yeah, that's a good question. I will say I have grown. Like if I reflect and I think back, there's a lot of different mistakes I could talk to in my career and as a mom as well. But probably just not advocating for myself. I will say, like in the Filipino culture, they're very hierarchical. And so I think this goes back to my roots, which is why it was my dad that was always saying, hey, women's world, capitalize on that, do it. Whereas the Filipino culture, my mom, and nothing wrong with that, she would be the one that said, no, don't piss them off. Don't say anything. Just make sure they're happy. So it was a struggle because that's how I grew up with her. And so I think early in my career, I would just accept things. And I wouldn't advocate for myself. And there's probably multiple different situations that I could point to there. But I've learned over time that nobody owns my career but me. And nobody is going to advocate as much. Now, other people will, but nobody will advocate for myself as much. And I've been even told, why do you push yourself? Why do you ask for these things? And I'm okay with that. And I've made peace with that. So further in my career, I'm going to continue to advocate for myself.
That's it. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
What about you? What was your mistake?
Was and still is asking for help.
Okay.
I even going back to how I was raised, like my mother's a superhero. I saw her do it all, right? The only thing that was missing was a cape, right? But for me, I struggle with asking for help. Down to like, okay, I'm running late to pick up my daughter, another mom, can you pick her up? And it's like, we got it. It's cool. Don't worry, And so when I do ask for help, there's like this relief of like, whew, And so I'm still working on that, asking for help. Even of my husband to say, hey, like now he'll be like, I'm just cooking dinner for you, or I'm gonna make your lunch. I'm like, no, I got it. I have 16 meetings and 43 projects.
Yeah.
And he said, but you didn't eat. I'm like, that's on 97 of the list. I'll get to it. And he was like, here's your food. I'm like, thank you so much. Right. And so I appreciate the people in my life who know that I need help.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to keep trying to juggle everything and then just take the initiative to do so. So
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
So important. Part of that community, like we said.
That's it. Community is massive.
It is. All right.
Yeah.
We are going to switch gears, I think, a little bit. So we got to hear on what makes us from a tech side as career working women. And now I think we're going to talk a little bit about pregnancy journey. So we'll talk about the other parts of motherhood at a future episode.
Yeah.
But for this, let's start with planned or not planned for your kid.
I think a mixture of both.
Okay.
So this year it'll make 23 years that my husband and I have been together.
That's a long time.
It is. And 13 years married. And so we were babies when we got together. But we would always joke about who would be the disciplinarian, who would be, the fun parent. I will always say he would be the one that gives the kid a milkshake and a burger for breakfast, right? And so we've always spoken about that. And it's funny because we were just watching a show, HGTV, and a couple was going to go look for a house. And one partner was like, oh, this is the perfect house because there's space for kids. And the other partner was like, I don't want kids. And on the episode, they realized there was some conversation that needed to be had. So, but then they adopted a dog. So I think that was the balance. But
that is not the same thing, but okay.
but yeah, we knew we always wanted kids. So planned in that way. And so we got married August 2012. Okay. And we were pregnant August 2013. Super excited. Yeah. For anyone that knows me, you've seen my shoe closet. I love shoes and sneakers, right? Yeah. So this kid had, the minute I found that I was pregnant, they already had sneakers and shoes. Oh, it was all the clothes. And then I miscarried. And so then that part was like, okay, what do we do? Yeah. And, it took us, so we were like just always focusing on trying to have a baby, right? So in a sense, it was like, okay, we planned for it in our minds and our hearts to have this baby, not realizing it is difficult to have a baby. People think you just have sex and power as a baby. It is a lot of work. It's like winning the lottery. Like everything has to line up literally. And then fast forward a few months later, almost 6-7 months later, I got pregnant. And it was when we had stopped worrying that, our daughter came. So like I said, it was planned in the sense that in our hearts we knew. But the moment we just surrendered and just like, we gonna have fun and we just gonna just
let life
see what
happen.
Happens.
Yeah.
Then she came kicking and screaming into this. Well, actually, she wasn't crying when she came out. Yeah, you know when you look for that cry. Yeah. Nah, when she came out, she was chilling. There was no cry. They hit her back, and I'm like, I had a C-section, so I'm like, I don't hear the cry. Is she okay? They're like, she's chilling. She's good, and she's been chilling since. So, but yeah. Okay. So what about you?
And it's funny you say C-section because I think April is C-section awareness month. So I'm plugging that because I'll talk about my babies. Both my babies were C-sections as well. So it's important.
It is.
Yeah. Talking about what that experience is like.
Yes.
So for me, both were planned. A little different in terms of, I will say, the paths. For my first one, who's again coming up on 6, we got married in June and we said, okay, great. Like we know I don't even think we talked about it, honestly. I think we've always just known that we were going to have kids and that was it. I don't think there was actually all right, we're good now. But I think we just went for it. And so we gave ourselves, I think 2 months, started trying. I kid you not, first try with this first child. Wow. I think I did the test and I think we had 2 days left on the cycle. I thought, all right, cool. Let's give it a try. See how it goes. Bam. Wow. So it was super quick. I will say with the second one, I wanted them to be about 3-ish years apart. I had a friend that gave me advice that said, nothing wrong with this, but kids that are 2 years apart, she's like, that's too close. She was like, then they double team you and all these things. She was like, just go for 3. So that was always my plan. Okay. And so we started with my second kid trying, and it didn't happen. And it didn't happen again and again. And, I remember, I think it took us 9 months. We were like, maybe we should check. My body's getting older. His body's older. And everything was fine. All the results were fine. He was like, see, look at all the count. We're good. All that stuff. And I think it was about 1.5 years is when it actually took. And so to your point, it is hard. And I don't think people realize sometimes just how hard it is to have a baby, especially when you really want one. But I'm an only child myself. And so I always knew that I wanted to, if I could, give my kid a sister. Plus, they were glamorizing like Elsa Anna and Frozen and all those things. So honestly, if it was a boy, I don't think she would have been happy. Like she apparently went to school, preschool, and telling them, oh, I'm going to get a sister. And my dad would come home. And this was before I was pregnant. And he'd be like, are you pregnant? I'm like, no. So like if we're talking about it, she probably just willed it. She willed herself to have a sister. And it would have been a different story apparently if it was a boy. But here we are.
That's funny because we didn't even think about like a second. I remember everyone told us like, you don't want to wait too long. You don't want to wait too long. And we were like, we just trying to survive the first one. Yeah. Right. And then time just got away from us. And now my daughter's just now saying, you know, she wants a sibling. Like she'll see babies like, oh, they're so cute. Or they, you know, so I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And so, you know, now we're in that process of, okay, trying to have a second. And it's, to your point, it's like everything is fine. All numbers check out. But again, I think it feels just like the first one, where it's like when we stop over-indexing and just have fun and just let life be, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And if not, we'll get her dog.
There you go. Yeah. You got plan A, plan B. That's okay. That's okay.
You know, if it comes, you know, later on down the life and there's a 15-year gap, whatever it is, I trust and I believe, and it'll come when it's supposed to. And so, if not, like I said, she'll be all right.
Yep, she'll be okay.
More gifts for her.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, with your pregnancy with both, were there any complications?
Yeah, I will say with both actually. But I didn't have any like sickness, which is interesting. But with my first, towards the very end, was preeclampsia, and so I had to do the thing where they do the fetal heart monitor. Like every other day towards the end. Now this is the piece where I always also share advice if people want it. Is that just because they tell you that your baby has to come out on a certain date does not mean that has to be the date. I will say that I think they wanted me to have her, I don't know, like 37 weeks, 38, so earlier. And I said, look, I'll come in, I'll do all the tests, but if everything's normal, we're going to let her bake. And we're going to let her bake as long as we possibly can. And I fought off my OB for like a good week and a half, where she actually only came early by like 8 days. So,
wow.
Yeah, like a week. And so besides that, it was okay with the first one. With the second, I will say I ended up having gestational diabetes. Which is hard because I'll be honest, I got excited to be able to eat whatever I wanted. Like my husband always said, look, when you're pregnant, doesn't matter the time, I will get you whatever you want to eat. And so I was like, beautiful, I'm going to hang on to that. And I couldn't. And so I felt really sad in terms of getting that gestational diabetes. Now, for folks curious, I was able to manage it. So I didn't have to go on glucose or anything like that. But yeah, there were a couple things that just were probably less than ideal. What about you?
Going back to the sickness, it's funny. I was only allergic. Well, I didn't allergic, but I would have morning sickness with Eggo waffles.
That's random. Okay.
And I was craving Eggo waffles. Like, you know, lightly toasted, a little bit of butter, microwave for 30 seconds. Like, that was my meal.
And you got sick with an Eggo waffle. Okay, what about like a different brand? Or did you not even try?
No, I don't do that. Okay. If it's not Eggo, it's nothing for me. So, so I could have Eggo waffles. Okay. And it's when we were at the time on the East Coast, I only crave chicken sandwiches too. And spicy chicken sandwiches. Okay. If you know me, you know seasoned food is a necessity. And so my husband used to work by where they sold these particular chicken sandwiches. And he would have to drive about 40 minutes to get home. This one day, actually, I was like, I don't want chicken. He said, you sure? I'm about to leave work. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. No, don't need it. Got home, I was like, I really need that chicken sandwich now.
Did you make him go back?
He offered.
Okay.
So I said, thank you.
So he did go back. Oh, that's like an hour and a half. Look at that.
Yes, he did. I think he got himself a chicken sandwich too. Okay,
good. He rewarded himself. Good, yes. Good.
But in terms of complications, like I had mentioned before, for me, Initially, the doctor said I couldn't have kids.
Oh, wow.
I feel like they were just throwing stuff at me. You have PCOS, you have fibroids, I have lupus. It's like, you can't have kids. And so I was like, psych, that's not happening. This is going to work. I'm believing it's going to work. Then when I got pregnant, they were like, well, you have fibroids. We don't believe that the baby and the fibroids can fit in the uterus together.
Oh, wow. Huh.
I still was like, I'm not believing that. This baby going to come and she's going to be healthy. And so I think that was probably the initial things of the complications. And then I remember, right before you give birth, you can't eat. That's when you're the hungriest. Families around you, waiting. They're eating, right? And I was like, so I remember.
Who's eating in front of you when you're about to give birth? Sorry,
my husband was there.
Was he eating?
He was eating. I have actually a picture of him, putting food to his mouth, and they're like, "You got ice chips." I'm like, "Can we at least season
That's
it?"
me.
Like,
what happened to the chicken sandwich guy? Anyways, okay.
But yeah, he was eating. But anyway, we were just sitting there. We were watching TV, and I was like, "Man, I can't wait for this baby to come out. Like, I want to eat." And then her heart rate dropped.
Oh, wow.
And then I just remember the doctors coming in, like, rushing, like, we got to go now.
Yeah.
Her heart rate is dropping. And I was like, what? Like, it just, you're not prepared, right? And they got me in and they moved. I would say shout out to Robert Wood Johnson Hospital in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And that doctor, she was on it. And that wasn't even, like, my primary doctor.
Yeah.
I saw a black doctor as well. I would say
okay.
I was so proud for my daughter to be birthed by or delivered by a black female doctor.
I love that.
And she came out, like I said, no crying. She just was just chilling. Like,
I love that.
I need a few more time, y'all. A little more time. Like, why y'all pulling me out now? But I had a C-section.
Yep.
Going back to that is no joke, that recovery. My mom had gave me a really amazing tip, which was, everything was funny and I had to cough. And, your stomach is so sensitive. And she was like, just keep a pillow on your stomach and just, hug the pillow anytime you need to cough or laugh. And that helped me with the recovery of the C-section. I know, I was like, everything was hilarious. And every 5 seconds I needed to cough. So that was helpful. But that was probably the extent of the complications for me.
That's rough. Yes. Yeah. My first one was an emergency C-section, I'll say.
Okay.
I know, we've got some other questions and stuff, but yeah, that is no joke in terms of that process.
It's really not.
The toll it takes.
So, yeah. So what was about a funny pregnancy moment for you?
Yes. So I will say with my first one, now it's kind of mean funny. I think it's funny, so we'll just go with it. I remember I was big, like 8 months, like 8.5 months or something like that. And I remember sitting in a coffee shop and this little old lady, like she was little and just like sweet, like 90 or like just old. And she looks at me and she goes, "When are you due?" And for whatever reason, with a straight face, I said, "I'm sorry, with what?" And she looked at me with just utter like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." I was like, "Just kidding, May." I don't know why. I honestly, to this day, have no idea what came over me to be like, "Oh, let's prank this little old lady." But without a doubt, and Shauna was probably mortified just watching it all happen. I'm just happy I didn't give her a heart attack because she was just like the littlest old lady. And I do not know why to this day that I was like, this will be fun. But yeah, no, that was a fun moment.
That's funny. For me, I would say, so I had to be about 6 months pregnant.
Okay.
I didn't carry too big, but I was a nice size. You could tell I was pregnant.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
If anyone asked, yes, I would have said yes.
And you probably told them yes.
Yes, right. And so it was the Beyonce and Jay-Z On the Run tour. So my husband and I, we love entertainment. We love music. And, this was the first baby. So there was nervousness with anything I did, right? After the miscarriage especially. So... but like I said, we wanted to go to the concert, right? Now, just for clarity, I am a Whitney Houston fan up and down. Okay. So very clear.
Sure.
But I do support other artists. So I
went
to go see Beyonce and Jay-Z. And so we went to the concert first time. It was great. Yeah. But the tickets were selling so fast. We said, let's just buy another set of tickets and just flip them. and sell them to someone else, because we're definitely going to make money because everyone wants these tickets.
Yeah.
For some reason, no one wanted to go to the second show. Right?
Oh, no.
And because we had kind of got those second tickets last minute, it was like the worst seats. Like literally the speaker was like, I could have put my arm on the speaker. That's how close we were.
Oh,
and
jeez.
we were stuck with these tickets. So we had to go twice. And I could feel the vibration like on my stomach from the speaker. To this day, I feel like the baby, my daughter, was like flipping in my stomach like to the beat. It was just so intense. And we just kept laughing like, wow, we did all of this. Like, this is going to be, I'll come up, we going to just hit it big with these tickets. And we couldn't find out one person who wanted to go to the show.
Oh,
so
funny.
Yes, we were on the run with Beyonce and Jay-Z twice.
There you go.
And my daughter's a Michael Jackson fan, so I
didn't
don't know if the
even
music was that impactful, but
okay.
She's a Michael Jackson fan. So.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
That
Sounds like a fun experience.
Yes. So.
Okay.
Yes.
And then anything scary, I think, in terms of pregnancy moment. You want to go first, and then I'll go.
I think it was, again, like I had mentioned, when the baby's heart rate dropped.
Yeah.
Because with the first baby, you don't know anything, right? You're just going by, you see these TV shows and you have all these preconceived notions, but to actually be in there is a totally different, and it's not to scare moms, but it's real, and of course that's the time you hear about all the horrible things going wrong. So in the way that they had rushed into the room, I can remember, like, I was like, my heart dropped, like, what are you talking about? Everything looks fine. And so just being pulled out and rushed into the operating room, and they move quickly. Like, doctors are amazing. Like, they were moving. And I remember feeling all this pressure. Like, I was pushing the doctor's arm. Like, this hurts. She was like, we have to get this baby. I'm like, okay, but can you, like, move over to, like, we're having this full conversation while she's trying to, like,
she's like, lady, just let me do my job.
And I'm like, okay, but that's a lot of pressure. Can you, like, and so, like, my husband, I mean, he saw it all, literally. The cutting open, the baby coming out. Like, he has a priceless moment of being able to experience it. Like, coupled with his wife on the side, semi arguing with the doctor. Like, I want you to get the baby out too, but the pressure is a lot here. So, but yeah, I think the heart rate dropping just so suddenly and unexpectedly kind of just took the one out of me a little bit. So,
okay.
What about you?
I will say mine was early on in my pregnancy with my first one. Okay. I remember I had to take a work trip, and I supported a bunch of executives at the time, and I was probably only, 2 months pregnant, and so nobody knew, especially nobody that I was traveling with.
Right.
And it was all the way over in Singapore, which is far, and I remember being at a customer meeting, and the piece to know about that was I did not have Wi-Fi there because we were at the customer, not at our own company.
Okay.
And so there was no way I could contact anybody. So I remember standing there with the customer and with, 10 or 12 people on our LT, and I started to feel lightheaded. Oh. And I remember walking to the like politely excusing myself, going to the bathroom, and the second I turned the corner, I fainted. I felt myself collapse onto the ground. And this is the sad part, is I didn't want anybody to, like, that I was with, to know. And to this day, probably none of those people actually know that here I am, 8 weeks pregnant, fainting on the ground. And all these people at the customer that were not the ones that was giving us the tour came and they were very sweet, and they rushed, and they're like, can we help? I was like, I just need to go to the bathroom. And it was one of those weird buildings where I couldn't get out of doors without a badge. And I was like, let me go to the bathroom, please. Just let me and so some nice man was like, here, and gave me his, he probably could have gotten fired for it, but it's fine. But some nice man just gave me his badge. And I remember sitting in the bathroom just trying to breathe, and I couldn't text anybody. I couldn't message anybody. And I will say, if anybody's curious, then when I went home, like a week later, I remember telling my OB, and she was like, oh yeah, no, that's normal. And I was like, I'm sorry,
really?
Woman, what do you mean? And she was like, just keep some candy in your pocket. If it happens again, make sure your levels don't go low. And I was
the blood sugar levels.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, nobody told me that.
Exactly.
So those are things, I'm just saying, always keep
I didn't know that.
Keep some candy in your pocket, because she made it seem like it was normal.
Wow.
But yeah, that was scary.
Of course.
Very scary.
And to be in another country.
I know, and nobody knew. All right.
That's deep. That's deep. So, well, those were fun stories.
I think so.
I like them, and again, you're not alone.
Yes,
and I think that's what we uncovered here.
Yes,
so, I love it. So, as we will do every episode, either or question.
Yes, the mom either or question.
Yes, the mom either or question. And so today's question is personal chef or personal home assistant?
I would say for me, personal chef.
Okay.
In terms of if I had to pick one or the other. Home assistant, I feel like I can do that while I'm in the car, taking care of things, catching up, but when I'm not driving, just to be clear, because some folks are stressed out going, where's she drive? Because I don't want to go there. Just to clarify. It's if my husband's driving, you can catch up on things. But yeah, just something about cooking. I will say, and if anybody has any good tips, we are trying some meal services right now. Like we're doing Cook Unity and seeing what that's about. But it's just hard for a family of 4. Sometimes my dad's here a couple times a week, just having to cook and figure it out and map it out. I just, oh God, if somebody could just take care of it.
Yeah, I relate to that. But I would probably say home assistant.
Okay.
And mainly just for like the administrative stuff of the family.
Yeah.
You know, my husband and I always say we run our family like a business with love. So
I love that.
we have, like today we have a family meeting, you know, and so it's just getting all of those things in order. The rhythm of business, literally we have family goals. So all of that feels like a lot, even though I enjoy it and I like to see the fruits of it. And my family, my mom, great cook. She cooked, but my brother took more to the cooking as well.
Okay.
I have professional chefs. My uncles are professional chefs.
Oh, wow.
And so I've always seen men cook. You know, my cousins can cook. And so when I met my husband, at first he didn't know how to cook. It was rice with oil in it. I was like, we do not need oil and rice.
Interesting.
But he cooked. That's what he would cook. And then he started to develop a love of cooking. And so he does a lot of the cooking in the house. Hence my lunch the other time.
Yeah.
And he's an amazing, amazing cook. So
that's awesome.
I got a built-in chef somewhat. So
Nice.
If someone can handle all the other stuff, like the doctor's appointments, the sports schedules and all that, I'll be good.
Okay.
So,
okay. Yeah. And speaking of schedules, we got a lot of love on Instagram, which was great.
Thank you.
And keep them coming in terms of questions, topics you want to hear about. So Jade asked us about our morning routines. You want to share a little bit about what that looks like for you, and I'll do the same.
So thank you, Jade.
Yeah.
Our morning routine actually starts on Sunday.
Okay.
For the week.
Tell me more.
Right? So going back to the family meetings. So my daughter has, on Sunday, she has to send us calendar invitations for the week of when she needs lunch. Because she can buy lunch at school.
Yeah.
So she has to look at the week to see what she likes and doesn't like. Whatever she doesn't like, that means we need to make lunch for her at home, and then she carries it. So she has to do that. So that alleviates in the morning. What's for lunch? What are we doing? On Sunday, she also has to get her clothes out for the week. So her clothes for school and for sports. Again, especially with a daughter who will, today I am in a green mood, and like, no girl, like,
we
what
committed.
Is the outfit that we are committed, and we have a mutual understanding.
Yeah.
Today is a blue day, right? And so and then breakfast, we try, figure out what we're going to plan for the day. So we try to use Sundays to plan for the week. Is it always? No. Okay. Punctuality is not my strong suit. So, we will do all this, and in the morning, everything goes to shambles. It's like, well, you know what? I think orange is the color today, so we have to deal with that. You know what? My hair is not what I expected anymore, and again, we live so far from her school. So it's like, and living in Seattle out here, literally each minute makes a difference for your commute. So it's like we start like 7:30 is the time, y'all. We out 7:47. Did anyone put the tea on? Because and so again, I would say for everyone it's different, but when it works, it's the preparation. It's having a plan and then putting the ownership on the kids, right? Like we've had our daughter do things even at 5, 6 years old that were appropriate for her age. That like you can say like, what do you want for snacks? So she she packs her snacks for the week. It's in the cabinet, the pantry. So you just pull that out. Bag has to be packed the night before. Yeah. So trying to put those sort of mechanisms in place is what helps us not get to school at 10 a.m.
But which I know school does not start at 10 a.m. for you.
It's not, but that's it. But like I said, I don't think we have an ideal way. That's just what works for us for the most part. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can relate on the sense of prepping beforehand. So I've got one of those nice little things that hangs in her closet that goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for her clothes. And so, yes, we go through and she helps and we pick out what she wants to wear each day. Same like, okay, gymnastics Thursday, great. Let's put that in there. So I love that planning. I will say for us, I feel like I literally run in the mornings. Like I am running around this house, trying to take advantage of every minute because the mornings I feel like get shorter and shorter. And I know how time works, but I am literally running. So I have tried to do my Peloton in the morning. So 5 days a week, I'm pretty good where I will get up before the rest of the household is up. Husband's still sleeping. Kids are still sleeping. I will go in and I will do my Peloton. I will actually also use that as a chance to look at my email. So I got one of those things that like clip onto the bike where your laptop sits. And so I will scan for my day, see what that's like. But I'll say what happens after that is actually dependent on whether I've got morning meetings or not.
Oh, okay.
Because that can be a pain. So sometimes if I've got a 7:30, I will be out in the office out there where my Peloton is, and people will see me in like a sports bra and a tank top. It'll be fine. But I'm committed to doing that Peloton. So sometimes I'll wear my hair like this to hide at least the bra straps. It's fine. And so depending on whether I've got meetings, adjusts our schedules. And then I come in and I will lay out some of the things for the older kid. And then she'll come in, she'll get eating, vitamins, all that stuff. We'll get the baby, the husband will get dressed, then I'll run upstairs, get dressed. It's a lot. And then I'm usually eating like an English muffin and peanut butter and a coffee out the door running. There have been moments because my oldest takes the bus stop where I'm flying down that hill where I'm like, please do not be early today. They tell you get there 5 minutes early just in case. I'm like, please do not let today be the day because I do not have time to go all the way to school to drop this kid off. Now, I will say, knock on wood, I have not been late once, but there have been times where I see the bus drive right up and I go, get out. And then we run down the hill and he sees us. He's a nice old man. It's fine. But gosh, every second counts in those mornings because especially the bus, like that is my cutoff. I have no wiggle room. So yeah, no, they're a little chaotic, but it's okay. We make it work.
I would say, I think the takeaway, like we said earlier, everyone's going through it. Yep. Everyone is trying to figure out. And I mean, shout out to you. There's no way I'm working out that early in the morning. No way. I have a gym. I'm aware. No. If I could start my day around 3 p.m., I would be a lot more productive.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. There's some days where I think you take calls in bed, and that is okay. So I've been on the receiving end of those calls, but that's okay.
Yes.
We are different, and I love it about us.
Yes, I love it. So yeah, so all parents, you're not alone. Just keep running. Yes. You're getting your steps in. Make sure you got an Apple Watch or something on so that you can get some credit for all that running around you're doing.
Exactly. So. Look at that.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
I appreciate you in this time. One thing we're going to be adding on is highlighting a local business owned by a mom. And so today we're going to highlight Wise Words Therapy. Okay. So it's owned by an amazing mom named Nautry Brown, whose mission is really rooted in understanding the underlying motivations behind human behavior.
Oh, cool.
And fostering mental well-being. And so Nautry and her team really focuses on just offering different workshops and consulting and speaking engagements to really get the community engaged, to really focus on prioritizing their mental health. And so on May 9th, Wise Words Therapy does have a session where they're hosting for women, tackling anxiety for women. And so we'll share the details for that. But yeah, just want to give a shout out to Nortree for her amazing work. And we will have some other businesses highlighted. So if you know of any or you own one, let us know. We'll love to highlight you.
That's great, especially owned by a mom. I love that piece.
Yes.
All right. And then as we close up, just saying that we're going to be doing this every few weeks. We've got some topics lined up, like we said last time, and you've been getting to know us a little bit. So for our next one, we're actually going to have a guest join us. Yes. And so it'll be fun adding to this duo dynamic that we've got here. So please do make sure you tune in. Yes. And with that...
So thank you for tuning in. Remember, there is no perfect way to do motherhood, just your way.
And keep showing up, laughing through the chaos, and giving yourself the grace you deserve. You got this, Mama.
See ya.
Bye.